What's up, everybody? Midjourney Fast Hours podcast, episode 44. And Rory and I were just sitting here talking. We were just like, man, what are we even going to talk about this week? Like, nothing has happened.
Nothing. Zero.
Like not like there's been a video model drop, not like there's been like a new SRef system drop, not like Midjourney's just shipping out of their freaking minds right now.
Out of
nothing.
Nowhere.
So, dude, I'm super pumped for this one. Because, like there's always like a couple of those weeks where it's like, small changes. What are we going to bring to the table? Right. And this one, I mean, dude, this could be a fucking 4-hour podcast if we wanted to be.
Probably.
We won't do that to you guys, but we did bring our drinks. We're gonna do a little Midjourney After Dark. We're shooting this a little early. We're doing this on a Thursday night this time. And we're gonna go into the weekend strong and just kind of play with, all these new updates. I mean, just so many new toys, shiny toys.
Basically just like a emergency podcast on a Thursday. We fit it in because we had to. Couldn't wait around till Friday for this one. We need to get it out while it's fresh. And if you can hear my mom laughing in the background, that's what those noises are.
I can't, but I want to.
It was like, I don't know what my dad just said. I'm at my parents' house. I don't know what he just said, but she is like borderline pee the pants kind of laughing. So yeah.
Damn, your dad still got it then.
He'll throw a zinger in every once in a while. I wouldn't say that's 100% of the time, but
damn, man, you get your wife laughing after that many years, bro. You still doing something right.
You work for those moments. When you get it, you're just like,
yeah,
did it.
Yeah,
because you swing and miss probably 9 out of 10 times.
That's true,
time,
dude. I say so much funny shit. My wife won't even crack a smile. I'm just like, man,
100%.
Come on.
It's because it could be the funniest thing, but the wrong time. That doesn't make a difference. If you could have the banger of a line, and if the girls are like doing something crazy in the kitchen, or like my wife's like changing a diaper, like there's no like in one ear out the other ear, didn't even hear it. And I'm like, well, now that's gone into the ether forever, never to be spoken again. But I know it was a killer. So
I mean, you know when you got a good one, You just want to see it, just a little bit, just a little something.
Yeah, it's I'm pretty sure my wife's probably pissed off at me after just like stopping our day yesterday, just being like, "That's it, that's enough." Midjourney drop video.
Yeah, what were you? Yeah, what were you doing yesterday? Because I just happened to see it at the right. It was like one of those right time things because I'm doing shit during the day. Yeah. But
really?
I saw I just saw this update and it literally just got announced like 3 minutes ago. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like
that was unexpected.
And it's still cool the way that Midjourney will drop it because it's like a whisper in the wind. It's like news the old way. It's like the Pony Express to some degree. It's like you get it when you get it.
No blast, no big like reveal, no giant, demo video showing like all this crazy stuff. Just drop it on the website and then like you tell someone and then someone tells someone and then you see it on Twitter and then like it just goes the most organic way. And that's the one thing I will say about this is the most organic release I think I've experienced in a long time, where I got excited again. I was excited about VO3 when I started using it. I didn't feel this I felt like awesome. I don't know how else to say it. When I started hitting the button, I was like, this feels like version 4, like sort of like the unknown. What's going to come out of it?
Yeah.
Is it going to be good? And then when it hit like right away, I was like, oh, thank God. It was just like a wave of relief of like, yes, all right, we're back in it, baby.
We're so fucking back.
So back.
Dude, okay, listen to this timeline, all right? So round 1 video rating party, June 11th.
Uh-huh.
Video rating party round 2, June 13th. Real video ranking, June 15th.
You got me excited with that one.
And that's when I was like, oh, fuck, because I didn't read all the fine print with that, right? So let me just kind of show you guys what we're talking about here. But, just going through the, the updated notes here in Midjourney, right, which you can access just on updates here. But I was just like, oh, real video ranking, click here. And I'm like, oh, dude, what? So like this is like pre-release ranking. And so I went into those and those were it was just like boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom, and I was like,
wait, no way. I was like, this is real. And then I went back and read the fine
yeah,
print.
I texted you. I was like, bro, wait, what? And you're like, no, dude, no. They're just read it. I was like, oh shit. Okay, June 15th, June 16th, video pricing survey, and then you get the style references, the new update, also June 16th. Yeah, default model, and then all of a sudden you get video
Bang.
on the 18th. Like, dude, that week was just nuts.
Like, can we just talk about, like, this is Midjourney's side project, essentially, like video, as it seems. But yeah, there's a really good line in there, which is what we've mentioned in here on this podcast a few times. If they want to get to like real time world building simulation, which is where they've always said they wanted to go, they were like, we have to do this in steps and we have to do this in layers. So we said, we definitely talked about this where it's like, well, you start with images and then you go to motion, which is videos, and then you go to 3D, and then you go to, so then you go to 4D. So they said it like that's the timeline.
Yeah,
that's what they're building towards. So this is just a step. And that, for what seems like a side project, right? Like this is damn good.
Well, dude, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just reading this, right? Like going back to the office hour notes. Goal. Images, video, real-time, 3D integration within 1 to 2 years. Okay, long-term vision, real-time open world simulations with interactive environments.
Yes.
Right? This is, I mean, these two lines here are pretty much everything you need to know.
I'm confident they can do it now. Like after this. Like this to me was like a litmus test for the future. Like if it came out and just was like Sora and it was like, all right, this is hard and it doesn't work ever and it's just not fun, I was like, this isn't going to be good for them. But
bro,
they
unbelievable though. Like great V1. I mean, I'd love to like, I'm sure you and I just let's share some examples. Let's share like first impressions, strengths, weaknesses, like, obviously like let's dissect this a bit.
Definitely. There's so much to get into.
Give me first pure raw insight based on like your first time playing with this. So taking you back to that time where you just jumped in, right?
Yeah.
And then you said there was a little bit of that surprise element of like, and look, we were talking about leveling the expectation, right? Like we had just talked about that. We were just like, well, look, I think we're both in the same camp of like, we expect good, but not great. Like we know there's probably going to be some stuff, so let's not get our hopes up too high kind of thing. But like, where's that landed with you now? Now that you've had some time to kind of like play with this thing?
There was, if we go back like, what was it, 2-3 episodes when we were talking about can Midjourney compete in video, there was like really two things that I wanted from it, and I stated there was one, I wanted the Midjourney factor, which was like, I call it the Midjourney factor, which is just like, can Midjourney make this easy and fun? Mm-hmm. Number one, they nailed that with auto prompt, right? Like,
yeah.
Like that's to me, you can go on, it's the only tool you can go on and type in picture of a car and get an awesome picture of a car. And now you can just hit auto prompt and you can have a really cool video in less than, 2 minutes with like a really good aesthetic without having to go and prompt 6 paragraphs, right? To me, that was massive. Like I didn't know I wanted auto prompt until it was there and it worked. And I was like, thank you for this.
Yeah.
I like the two variations. And I think as we go back to looking at the video rankings when we were saying, why is one video super still and one video moving?
That's right. Yeah, you called that out. Yep.
Low motion, high motion, right?
Yep.
So do you have those two? So I was like, all right, this is great. Now, the other side of it was like, we talked about how they could win. And it's if you could take Midjourney's like very distinct aesthetic or the crazy shit that you can't animate in any other platform. And if it can do that, then like it's going to keep us all and we're all going to love it because no other platform can do that. Nailed it. Like they just totally nailed it. I went right to the most complicated images I could find and was like, let's see. And hit auto prompt in first shot. I was like, all right, here we go. For all the complaints about Midjourney being hard and there's so many parameters and there's so much stuff now, does it get any easier than auto prompt and you get a great video? I get some people want control. most of the time, if your image is constructed correctly or prompted correctly, it's going to auto prompt well. So like it's going to get basically the only like a few things that it can do on some images, right? But
yeah.
After
I think
testing
that's what I've noticed, because like I've you know, to where I'm at right now is I've basically tested really short prompts and mostly done, you know, the auto. I've run some manual, obviously, like just see how it works. But like to your point, I haven't really gone into more of the like very specific, complicated sort of prompts to see how that maybe varies in the results. But I would say, like, in general, I like how approachable this is. Right?
Super.
It's not. It is not intimidating at all, right? Because you go in here, like let me go back to my, you know, let's just go back to stills here, but let me scroll back a little bit. I was loving just kind of doing this particular SRef. I was just really loving this SRef I was doing.
It's a good one for video.
Yeah, so I was just kind of like going through and like, you know, simple animating these, because basically these are all very simple prompts, because the way that I unlock SREFs, which we'll also get into, right, is like I use like either a phrase or a single word. And I found some that like really kind of work well with different SREFs to kind of give me an idea if I'm going to like it. And so these are very, very simple ones, right? But, you know, like just clicking into this and, you know, for the first time just seeing like, hey, I just got 4 options here, right? And, you know, low motion, high motion, it's easy to understand based like it for me, for you, for most people, I would imagine it's like, it's pretty easy to understand when I would want to use low versus high, right? So I like that idea of like little and a lot, right? Based on the scene. Because like if you've got something very like still and stagnant and something like this, static, it's like, okay, well, I'll probably use low motion. I might run high motion to try and see what happens, right? Just out of curiosity, because we're experimenting. But like, you know, I love that. And then let's fucking talk about the fact that you get the four grid, which no one else is doing, and you get all of them at the same time. I'm not saying I think there is something there from a user experience standpoint that needs to get tweaked, right? Because your eyes can't focus on all 4 at the same time. So that's the challenge, right? It's like, because what I want to do is like, as I'm trying to quickly move through these, is kind of like take a step back and glance at them from far away and just kind of follow the one that feels right the longest until it falls off. And then I'm like, oh, okay, not that one. And then I got to go back and kind of watch them. Yeah. But I mean, the fact that you're getting 4, bro, what the fuck is this? This is awesome. Awesome.
That was the way VO2 was when I was beta testing it, and I'd get 4 every time. And it was amazing, because you'd get like 1 to 2 that were like exactly what you asked for. And then maybe two of them, or 1 or 2 of them was just like a little bit off, you know, what you asked for, but it would sometimes a lot of the good stuff would come from those 2. Now, like if you're looking at the one that you have hovered over, right? Like the one that has the exploding background, like that would be the variable one, right? That's why it's nice to have 4, because then it could be like, I didn't ask for that. That's what I want. You know, it's cool now. I like that. I want to play with that. So having the 4 is great. The other thing I think that's interesting to note is they didn't do like a separate tab. It's all accessible within the create page, which is super nice. Yes. I like that. I like just being able to click it. It's all in the same place. You can then, you know, sort by video. As you can see now, we're doing that. But that's a simple, subtle thing that like I was hoping it wasn't like Editor, where it was going to be in like its own dedicated space and I was going to have to jump back and forth and then like, you know, so it's nice the way they did it. And I'm happy they did it this way, as they normally tend to make things simple. And it doesn't get much more simple than having 4 buttons, and that's about it.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's a great first start, right? Because they did kind of cater to maybe people that really haven't been generating a lot of video, right? It's like this is very approachable. Again, like I think anybody could appreciate this. Look, you want to go ham, you know, get into the extend the video or the, you know, portion where you're actually, you know, text prompting exactly what you have that option. You're looking for something just kind of experimental or low effort. right? Or just ease, efficient, just do the manual. And like I've been testing that out specifically too, because I wanted to kind of see if I could identify certain patterns in what comes back. And I'm curious to see if you've picked up on anything so far, because I'm seeing a couple things that I've noticed. For example, like anytime there's like somebody like this and the motion's high, they always turn around.
Yeah.
Always turn around. And then there's like, like whenever you get into like some of these slow motion ones too, it seems like they're very similar slow motions. I think they're almost like slow motion template kind of movements.
Yeah.
Because
probably.
Because like some you kind of like you see the rotation, some you kind of like they kind of jitter back and forth, and then like others, I don't know, just something I've noticed. Like, have you seen anything like that on your end, or what other observations like have you kind of taken away from what you've seen?
Well, that one definitely. Yeah. Again, going back to whatever episode we did on this one, where we were talking about images for video. When we talked about that, where it's like if you have motion baked into your images, you already have a leg up. So like I tried a lot with the motion blur background or some sort of like like people are already like half running in motion, or a car is like speeding and you can see like the tires are spinning and there's motion blur. So it's like it just like takes it and runs with it, which is always what I've appreciated. But there's a creative factor to it, which is why, again, I feel like I'm highlighting like 50 episodes here. We talked about this.
I know, man.
Sort of like Apple, right? We went back to a long time. We're like, Midjourney feels like the Apple of this whole situation versus like, when we were talking about it was like Stable Diffusion. Like that's how long ago it was. Felt like the PC version, or Flux now feels like the PC version. But there's a creative edge to it where you don't have to control everything. Every other platform is focused on control. Midjourney says we do the other way. Like we'll just
it's a great observation.
Push a button and it'll work. Which is why, I don't want to think sometimes. I don't want to write 3-paragraph prompts to get something cool.
Yep.
Now I just hit high motion and bang, I get what I'm looking for. Like that's awesome. So again, this is like and what also can't be overstated is how hard some of these images are to animate. Like how hard it is with motion to keep that style consistent beyond the initial frame. So if anyone's not familiar with running, image to video on a lot of these other platforms, if Drew was running an image like this, maybe prior to, Kling 2 and VO3 and, some of the new developments, if you wanted to move off of that frame, like if you wanted to like pan left, a lot of times that style would not transfer. Midjourney style would not make it to the rest of the video because it's just too complex. And the video generators are just like, I have no data on this, so I can't compute. Runway notorious for that. Kling's pretty good at keeping consistency. Minimax was always pretty decent at that. But like you couldn't throw a lot of this stuff into VO3. Like no shot at VO3. I think it's revolutionary and awesome. Just some of this stuff just doesn't work in it. It doesn't have data. So like that is to me also, like again, we were talking about where they could win having that style and being able to animate something like this, right? Like that's where I'm seeing just massive improvement. And I think if you look across, if you open up Twitter, if you open up LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, you're going to find people that are amped about this because they have all these crazy images that they're like, this makes no sense to put it in a story or
right.
like whatever. I just wanted to see what it looked like moving. And now you can do that. So
it's a great point. Yeah, it's a great point. Like this is, again, one of those moments in time to go back into the archives, deep into the archives. Don't forget about all those great things that you've already created. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to all of us because, dude, we've already done the legwork on so many great images. We owe it ourselves to kind of animate and kind of see where these things take us. I also really like this idea here with like the SRef combination with the video, that's amazing. Like the fact that you can really, get different and weird and unique because there are so many different SRef codes. There are so many preferences that you may have, so like I'm going to go back and, look at some of those SRef codes that I really like. And, these were fun. Like, I mean, these were the first ones I tried out with video. So a lot of this wasn't necessarily realism, but like, I just love seeing, like, this felt like a world to me.
Yeah.
Right. Because now it's the SRef, and you got great stills, but now, with the motion added, you're almost kind of creating this little world, right? Because, you could take any one of these and start to like connect the dots and make this like its own little neighborhood or ecosystem, right? In a way. And I think that's pretty neat.
I would say so. I think it's also like, if you can't sort of dream up a world for yourself, Midjourney can provide a SRef random world for you. So that's another thing again.
Yeah.
Like that's like, personally, sometimes I just don't want to dream up a world too. Like sometimes I just want to see what it can do and where it can go, and I want to play off it. But like SRef random, perfect for that. It's like it's like forced creativity. Like I'm not creative in the moment, but I can get there with some help. But dude, these are really just like overall first impression, expected to be let down, not let down in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, like really solid, good first look.
Yeah. And people think maybe that like we're being overemphasizing it. I think it's just from using all the other video models so much and knowing what's hard with them and knowing where like the rough edges are. Yeah. And coming into this and pushing one button and getting good work out of it is like, it's a lot. Like it's a lot of thought that goes into the video stuff to make it good. And just to have one button and it works with the crazy stuff, like it can't be understated and I think I saw so many people back on, I did a post on it on LinkedIn yesterday. So a lot of people that came out of the woodwork that I hadn't seen on my posts in a long time.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of people that were like so amped about it. I think there's like I said this to someone yesterday. I forget who. Maybe it was our buddy Min. I was just like, I like feel something again for AI.
You're no longer numb.
Yeah. I'm no longer numb. I was like, I feel it again. I'm like, ooh, I'm like excited. I was sitting around waiting to play with it today while I was sitting in 4 hours of traffic. I'm like, come on. Like, let's
brutal,
go.
Man.
Yeah, brutal. Whatever. Midjourney's better than traffic. Guarantee that. Take that to the bank.
Tell me this too, because we'll kind of like preview kind of like what's next here, because they did announce kind of like what they're working on next with this. But where do you see the shortcomings currently? Obviously we're looking at this V1 model just released, so we're not going to sit here and blast it, but like, where do you see the shortcomings currently here in terms of like, short-term improvements that you would expect to happen?
Shortcomings is a few. Number one, I think it's interesting that they chose a 480p route instead of a 720 or 1080. Personally, if that's what it takes to keep the cost down and give me 4 generations, I'm totally cool with it. Like 480p, it says it's 24 frames per second. I don't think it is 24 frames per second. It kind of looks a little bit choppy in that regard. But like, those can both be fixed. Like, if the quality keeps up with the way that it is, the motion, the coherence, everything else, I can sacrifice to the 480 now, because we highlighted this on the episode last week on Topaz Astra. Now I can run that through, get 1080p, it'll be crisp. Or just regular Topaz video AI, up the frame rate, up the resolution, totally good. So like, if that's what allows me to generate more videos here of the things that I want to play with, totally fine with that.
How much is Topaz Astra?
Topaz Astra, I'm not exactly sure.
Is that a license or a subscription?
So I worked on that product. I gave the team a lot of feedback on it. I worked on Starlight with them, which was their original upscaler. If you're not familiar with Astra, it's Topaz's new video upscaler that is specific for basically AI video, adding more texture and detail. But it's built off of Starlight, which is like their like initial diffusion upscaling model. So it was the first diffusion video upscaler. But Astra's great. It's easy. I don't know if I think I have some, being honest, I have some free credits from being, a tester, giving a bunch of feedback and like playing with a bunch of stuff. So I did buy the Topaz Video AI a while back, whatever that was, whatever that cost, the one-time fee. It was like $300 or something like that. And I use that all the time.
Yeah.
But Astra now has been really good for, they're trying to be Magnific for video, and
yeah, interesting. Yeah, good pivot for them. Yeah. So
the professional products are awesome, not just like AI stuff. Like their stuff for video itself is great. Like they have really high end products, and they're really awesome.
I mean they had they had a lot of photography tools. I mean they still do. But that was how I got introduced to them a long time ago. And they had one tool in particular that I had a license for, and the name is escaping me now. But it was particularly good, and I liked it for one really good. No, was it? No.
Something like that.
It's gonna drive me nuts now. But what it did was it had this awesome little thing at that time, which none of these other ones did, and it was basically like this micro contrast, and tonal contrast sort of like function that when I was doing a lot of portraits with my photography, it allowed me to get so much detail on the face.
Okay.
And it had like applied correctly. Just it took the images to the next level. I would literally spent money on just for this one thing. And man, that like loved that. Like it used to bring out the pores. And so I did this series too, where I was taking photos of homeless people with their permission. I wasn't being an asshole. But like I was telling their stories, and I ended up turning this into like this whole fundraiser thing. It's a story for another day. It actually was like a really cool thing in the long run. But like those types of people typically have a lot of character on their face. They've been through some shit. They're not in the best condition. They're probably, one of the worst versions of themselves probably in that moment, right? Like they're very vulnerable, but it shows up on their face, right? And so it's like, a tool like that used to let me dial it in and pick up all these little micro wrinkles and pores and, imperfections. And it was just like, man, it just took the images to the next level. So Topaz is like somebody I've been familiar with, but I haven't been keeping a close watch on it, but it sounds like they've really pivoted well, with the AI stuff in particular. And then obviously like with the Upscaler stuff too, even with the image gen.
It's good. Well, they just introduced Bloom, which is their competition to Magnific. I will say it's good.
Okay, I did see Bloom, but I didn't know what it was. So that's the direct comp to Magnific. Okay, got it.
Good. Wouldn't say it's Magnific yet, but I'd still think like their video upscaler is like the product for the time. And I said that to the guy that I've been working with today. I was like, you guys couldn't have launched this at a better time. You're gonna have 2 million people creating videos, and they're going to want to upscale them because they're at 480p. It's just like right product, right place, right time. Like this is, Astra, again, the one thing that I will say is that it still softens things out a bit, which, smooths them out a little bit too much while adding a little bit too much contrast. I think if you have a relatively decent looking image or video to start with, it's going to be great. If you have something that needs a lot of work, it's going to smooth it out. So just know that.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's sort of my analysis of it. This one, you get some free credits here. So there's this one with Bloom. I was like, it's quick, it's easy, it's simple. I thought it overdid some stuff. It's like Magnific when you hit too much fractality on things.
Yeah, that always drives me nuts. I hate that.
Yeah.
Because you have to like dial it in so precisely to not get the artifacts and and there's almost like too many options then, because it's like, I like using the God, I haven't even used Magnific in a couple months now. But it's like you've got those different models, then you've got the different types of photo it is, right? Is this art or illustration? Is this video game? So it's almost like it's great to have options, but it's almost like too many options, right? And then you run into the fractality of the HDR stuff, and you have to find this perfect balance.
So
which whatever. But I did see that Magnific upscale generations did get faster. I
They
did see some news on that. Yeah.
Javi was doing something too. I saw him tweeting about something. I don't know what it is, but he seemed pretty excited about it. If anyone's not familiar, Javi Lopez is a great follow on Twitter. He's the one who created Magnific.
Yeah,
He's always testing everything. But yeah, the other thing, now that you say it, going back to it, just jogged my mind on the sort of maybe the rough edges on Midjourney on the
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'll share it. 'Cause
Yeah,
there's a few things I noticed, and it's probably very similar to what you've seen with the other video generators. There's a ton of things that seem to be the same and different at the same time. But let me see if I find the video. Like cars, for example, right? Cars, if you don't specify, they sometimes just end up driving in the wrong direction, right? So like this one, that's something that happens in a lot of other video generators unless you tell it. So I pushed auto prompt on this. I got 4 cars that are moving backwards.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's something that's going to happen a lot if you're not familiar, with how these things work, because like, I just pushed auto prompt. Why didn't it work? Right? Like, that's how a lot of these things happen. Here's another one that's standard. I went back and used an old Midjourney 4 image. But a lot of times you'll get static wheels, right? This is something we talked about a lot. If the wheels look like they're static in your image, a lot of times they're going to end up looking static in your video. So this goes back to like prompting, for certain specific items. Like you're going to want spinning wheels. Like this one, it actually did it, but I think there's basically, see two of them have no spin. It just looks like the car's gliding, right? So simple, like things like that have always been prevalent, right? Like I'm noticing that. The other thing is, there's actually some decent, I was playing around with this one. This is an old like V6 image. I was like, oh, can we do fight scenes now? Not bad. I mean, like, fight scenes are pretty shit to begin with, but this one I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like
passable, right?
I can screw with that. Because this is a complex image, right? Like this isn't something that's super simple to animate. There's a lot going on. There's, all the water splashes,
we did touch
in the background.
We touched on that a little bit, like just kind of like thinking about, we saw the rankings last time. I think that's where we were at, right? Like we saw, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2, maybe it was just 1, that first video ranking party. But we did say, look, hands and body movement already looks better than the stills.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're like the physics of this are already better, which then again, I don't really know how it works, but it feels like, okay, well, if you've unlocked that with video, you should be able to apply that now with statics, right?
So the interesting thing is that if you have messed up hands in an image, the hand's correct in the video. Which is, I've never had an issue with hands in videos, really. Like, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, they auto-correct themselves. Like, well, let me see if I can find the example of that. Maybe it's one of these. I forget which is the good one that I utilize, but like her hands are totally jacked up in this, like in the image, but they sort of correct here. Maybe that's not the one. See how they kind of like auto-correct there? Like they're like a messed up.
Yeah.
If I can find the image. See how they're See, they're kind of like screwed up here.
Jangled.
Right? It's like
jangled and mangled.
Hands. But when you come and actually like look at the video, the hands sort of just auto-correct themselves. So like hands, again, I don't think you have to worry about them as much. This was also impressive that you could spin someone, right? And then you come back and then the faces are the same. Most of the time, I think I extended this one. But that's another thing to test, like if the models are good or not. Like, we'll keep the same face as they spin or as they turn, because a lot of times it'll just regenerate to something else, right? Like it'll be something totally different. So that was one that I was pretty damn impressed with. Again, it's like little tests. And then there's certain things like, like can I just give it this and it just takes
I love
it
that
and runs
one.
with it. Yeah, right. I gave it a magazine cover, or not, at least a mock magazine cover that I made.
Sick.
Like,
that's sick.
So, just again, things.
I mean, look at that movement, but the movement and the pacing of it looks perfect.
Notice the camera shake when he hits the ground, right? Like certain things like that, where it's like he steps up, or maybe it's this one. No, it's not this one. I think it's this one. When he like stomps, you see like the camera like bounce up and down.
That's what I was. That's the one right there.
Yeah.
Hey, tell everybody like how you're. Let's talk about organization for a second, because now this adds a whole different layer of how are you going to track the videos you really like, along the way, right? For me, my process now is it has to change with the video thing because right now there's no upscale option. So that was how I was sort of like, separating the images that I really liked from the images that, were just, was I would upscale them, and then that's how I would filter them in my archive. Now with video, currently not an upscaler. Important to note though, upscaler and higher quality, that's in dev. So I would that feels like the next thing that they would pump here for video. So that's going to be interesting. But how are you kind of going around and I guess separating the videos that you like? For me, I've had to pivot and then actually heart the videos that I'm liking, and then that's how I'm going to sort those. But are you doing it any differently, or how are you thinking about that?
I'm being sort of selective with the videos right now. Like I'm only doing the ones that I really want to see. Like I didn't just go nuts yesterday. I was like, I had like a bunch of images that I wanted to test. Like I knew like I wanted to test this one and see what it could do, which I was like really impressed with what happened on the viewfinder. So I'm probably just going to start to like this stuff now. Like I haven't even thought about it because like I knew I wanted to see what this stuff could be. Like this one to me was like this sort of entirety was crazy that I just took that 2D
That's dope.
animation and made that.
Yeah.
Right? Like we had the little bubbles flying out the back. I'm like, this is great. So I don't even know, man. Like it's a great question because I was so just dialed into finding, like it's so weird. I was like finding the things that I wanted to go back and animate.
Yeah.
Wait, just in case anyone's hasn't seen this, we have a little, Drew is now
animated. My God. Damn. Holy shit.
I created that video and I sort of snuck both of us in there just being, talking heads, which is what we're doing now. So, a little side by side of us just being idiots. So, like again, this was used. You can do this with yourself. This is pretty easy. You just did an O-ref of a picture of me and an O-ref of a picture of Drew into like a, stupid caricature image. And then, now we can run it now that you basically have.
And now our YouTube thumbnails are out of control. Dude, some of the stuff you sent me is insane.
This is the game we have to play on YouTube,
dude,
guys.
Okay, so, continuing to talk about video for a second. How much you loving the fact that we got an explore page now with video stuff?
I have an admission. I have an admission of guilt. I have not looked at it one time yet.
I haven't really like scrolled through yet. But this is awesome, man. So
it's so good.
You got similar, right? So default, you've got images. You had random hot top day. You could sort this top week, month. Images that you like. Now you've got this option with video. There's no hot, but you've got random. You've got top day. Let me see. Okay, top week, top month, and then you've got ones that you've liked.
Still don't know how they pull those in there, but regardless. The other thing is like,
yeah, there we go. Okay.
Whenever is that yours over on the right?
No, that was where I got the idea from. Though.
All right, cool. I was gonna say that looks very familiar.
Yeah, this one's dope.
Does it have the prompts in there? All right, so that's the interesting thing, right? When you hit auto prompt, it just uses your image prompt, like as the guide.
Yes.
So the other thing that we should note, I don't even know if we mentioned this, is that there's the extend. The extend feature is awesome, and it works really well. You can extend up to 4 times. I tried to just keep going today. So you can get 25 seconds worth of a video. And it's super coherent. There's no jumpiness in between. A lot of times you see with the other video generators when you have to extend, or it's like you extract the last frame and then start again. There's not a seamless motion. VO3 does it really well. Not a lot of other ones do it well. But this one, there's a very seamless pickup from like, here's the end of the video to then it just keeps going right away. It's super smooth. It's exactly what it is. So, I kind of like 5 seconds, as weird as that sounds. Like I think 8 is the perfect one.
Yeah.
But 5 to me is good if you can extend this well. What did you type in there?
Girl walks away from the camera into the burning fire and catches fire and screams. I've already extended this a few times. I want to see if it. And you know what? Like I'm also interested in playing with this. I'm sure you're probably doing the same, but I'll take things that originally started as a low motion or a high motion and pivot.
Yeah.
And see how that adapts too, right? So I would recommend, like, if you are experimenting and trying to like figure out how this works, like, do that. I don't know if I have any strong observations on that so far. Like, it doesn't throw things into a loop by any means. So I think that's a positive, which is really cool to see, because I think like you can, in theory, right, like have parts that are sort of like more even pace, slow, and then all of a sudden they accelerate, or vice versa, right? Things start really fast and then all of a sudden you kind of tone it down. Like those are interesting techniques, and it's a very simple thing to do. So I like that, how that kind of bakes into, they play well off each other, I guess is my point. And I'd like to see that continue.
Let me pull up one, because I ran the full like 25 seconds before we got on.
Let me see if this girl catches fire real quick. I'm
still running?
really
I'm
really curious to see if she catches fire here, and I think I might have one.
Here's the other thing. I timed it today. It was 48 seconds. It's like, that's insane. It's like,
damn,
that's how long it took on for one generation. I'm like, that's, again, subtle wins. That's a win. Generating at 480p, you can get it at, I don't know if it's a tactical decision, because everyone's like, if we get faster gens, people will generate more. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know if it's tactical, but I like it. And I like being able to rapidly iterate through stuff and just like scrap and keep going. And having it at 480p allows you to do that without wasting too much. Did you catch on fire?
Yeah, a little bit. Only one of them here.
Which one?
This one right here.
Oh, all right.
But it takes a little long to happen. Let's see. Feel like it should already happen.
Oh, right.
Boom, boom. Yeah. Let's see what happens here.
Going back to the observation thing, when you said that, I found that the prompt is more coherent on first frame than it is on extend. So the one thing that you're battling with, everyone, just so you know this is true across basically all the video platforms. When you extend or use like if you go and try to make that secondary clip, you're sort of at the bay of whatever the camera or the subject is doing. So like, if your camera is like swinging right and you will like swing it back left, a lot of times it's not going to do that. That's just not the way. It's like going to keep going right, because that's the way it's already going. And you extend and you can keep going that way. So if you feed into it, like if the camera's going right, like keep it going right. There's things like that where, you can't have the camera really go up and then like drop like way down. Like it doesn't work that way when you extend. Like there's certain tools you can do that with text to video a little bit easier. But with that being said, just know when you extend.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. So if it's like push in and you push all the way in on like close up on someone's face, but then you extend, you're like pull out. Sometimes that'll work. That's probably an easier way to do it than like swinging. With it, I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about. Because sometimes you just have to roll with whatever the camera's doing. And that's the easiest way to get a better generation if you're text prompting. If not, if you're just hitting auto gen. Hey, look, someone definitely utilized the my girl in a red dress with a giant animal behind it.
Oh, here it is.
Click on that prompt. Candid shot. Yep, that's the one I shared on Twitter I used a girl in a red dress with a giant.
Oh no shit.
With a
there it is.
With a giant rhinoceros, and I'm like, that looks familiar.
Yeah, that's kind of dope. Sharp round top.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, that's dope.
What?
Dope idea.
Hold on, wait. Go back to that one real quick. Click on the first frame. No, it's the right. Yeah. All right. So it added that. It wasn't in there to begin with.
Right, graffiti in red and black tones in sticker format.
Huh. Interesting. Good to know that can be done though. Didn't even think about
That's
that.
dope. I mean, that's I think like the value of.
Ooh, click on that one. That product photo one. I'm
this
just
one?
curious. Yeah, to see how the pineapple on the top keeps consistent. Dude, this is it's like built off like a 3D sort of mindset here, because those weird that those, like, you see the pineapple shapes. These are like weird nerd things that I'm looking at right now. But the pineapple shapes and the shadows, they stay consistent. Throughout this whole thing, with the broccoli and the kale floating above it, or if that's cannabis, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, what is that?
But that's like something.
Maybe it's kale cannabis. Sounds awful.
Vegan.
Yeah, there's some good stuff here, but like this is a perfect thing too, right? Like new feature, new capabilities. Explore page can unlock some ideas that maybe you didn't have. Also gives you some intel on the types of prompt, that achieved it, right? So like just like a perfect example is this, right? It's like, don't know that I would have thought of that, and probably wouldn't have thought of it for a long time, but that's super dope. Love that.
I did that a long time ago in Runway, like Sketch, where I did like doing like Sketch to basically, because I was using final frame, like last frame only, and just having like the sketch as the end, so trying to like animate it with the hand, and that worked, which is cool. But like, there's
look at this shit. Yo, this feels like some you shit right here.
Which one?
This fucking chimp. Look at him.
Oh hell yeah, that's me.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, let me show you the extend
Yeah, show me
stuff.
what you got.
This was pretty impressive to me. I was just screwing around with this before we got on. Let's see if this. I don't know which one is the right one, but I'm hoping it's one of these. But like, if we started here, right, just so everyone can see the initial frame, or maybe not, but that's the initial frame, right? Crazy. There's a lot of motion in it. You see what I'm talking about with like the motion blur to begin with, and like everything that you can see that it's already moving to the right. I don't have to prompt for it. I know that's just going to pick up and run with it. So like it takes it, and then it goes, and this is like the first clip, right? And then we go into the second clip where it like zooms in, curves around, and then like we swing around front, and you can see the camera motion, or the camera shadow here somewhere. There it is over here on the left. We just keep going, right? So this is pretty damn good for extend. You would never know where the clips extended. They just sort of bleed into each other, which is what you want.
They do bleed in really well too, right? Because like
seamless.
Even when I was going back and like trying to pick, first you got to find the one that you like, and then it's like, okay, which one am I gonna extend, and then you get the extensions, and then you compare those, right? But like that was what I noticed, in trying to like analyze each one of those. I would click in and I would click to that point right before, because there's a break that it shows you, and I don't know if you can see because you've got like that share screen button right on your thing, but
what happened here?
Well, you can go back to showing what you had. But the point I was trying to make is it shows you the break, right? Like when you go into, and so I was skipping to right before that, and as it would go into each one, it was so smooth and subtle, right? Because like you're like, oh, I was expecting something to change instantly, right? When it started, wouldn't even know. Right. So I think that is a really, really interesting and good point too. It's like, damn, that's kind of dope. Really bleeds in well.
Yeah. I think this one was impressive. Just that most of the time you have a hard time getting turns with cars, as weird as that sounds, right? Like getting a turn is an odd thing. VO3 does it well. Kling can do it now well, but like having a sharp, like 90-degree turn, that wasn't something that was really easy, right? Like this one to me really kind of like, you guys again just nail it.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Stuff, right? Like some of these motorcycle shots too, and this is again, I'm talking about adding motion to your image, having that motion blur. It just like makes a big difference with this. Like some of this stuff looks super real, and I'm sure they have a lot of motorcycle data.
It's dope.
Like some of these, I don't know if it's this one, but like even the curving of the camera, like with that, like these are complex. Like that's not easy. This isn't something that every image generator or any
lot of variables, dude. A lot of variables.
Yeah. and keeping consistent with the colors and keeping everything. It's the other thing we should mention here. There is no color loss, 0 color loss from one thing to the next, like one from image to video. Like I was totally shocked that this didn't lose color, like even on the softness on the earrings and stuff like that. Like this guy, right? Like it keeps the style perfectly and then continues to animate with it. Like even all these little micro details here might not be perfectly, resolute, but I was really like, these are little things like that soft blurriness on the earrings, killer.
Have you tested images outside of Midjourney yet?
I have not.
I haven't either.
Because I have so many.
I know. I haven't either. I asked because I'm wondering if that stays true with your point around the color outside of Midjourney images, just in terms of like how it picks those things up. But
like this, insane. Like this color should not work. Like these are really.
I mean, it's
really
insane. Dude, that is extreme.
Right. And I was like, this is so cool how that looks. This one was the original one that I was like, all right, I can take something that makes no sense and it'll work. Like it's so extreme from a color standpoint. And I was just like, that's it. That's the one that specific video. I was like, yeah, we're good. And don't ask me why. People probably think it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like that's. I'm just like, that color is so extreme.
I mean, dude, that's but I think the point we're trying to make though is, in theory, it shouldn't work. We haven't seen that type of stuff work.
No.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. And you'll see, not to I'm sorry for cutting you off on that one.
No, you're good. You're good.
But with this, again, to dropping back to another podcast that we talked about, there is Midjourney's brightness factor. Like, you see this with a lot of other image generator or videos. They get dark because it's too much power to render all the detail. V7's super bright because it can handle the detail. Now the video generator can handle the detail too. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that we're hitting on all cylinders here from previous episodes. If you guys haven't listened,
we really are. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, there's never been a better time to go back. We see that every episode. Look at this one. This one's pretty dope. Like this. Sick. Love everything about this one.
Did it get hunt on both sides of the car?
It did.
Nice.
And that's all awesome. It had was burnt orange hunt logo. Didn't even put it in quotes, but this was the image. So yeah,
I mean, it got it the right way.
That recognition, too. Right?
Yeah. Actually, I take that back. It was wrong, because if it was the other way, like if you go back to the image, it says hunt left to right, and then here it says hunt left to right. So technically, if it was the same, it would be, see how H is at the end, right? Like not the beginning of the word. You see what I'm saying? Or no?
Kind of.
Like right here, H is the first letter. On the other side, H is the last letter. So it makes sense. It's still like impressive that it did that. But
oh yeah, I mean, well,
that's
but that's how you would display it, though, right? You wouldn't want them both to be facing the same way.
Correct. But I'm saying,
you're just saying, like, dude, the fact that it picked that up.
It just picked that up.
Yeah, dude, that's fuck. That's insane. Yeah, I know, that's awesome. I mean, and there's no variation, right? There's no variation in those hunts, because even something as small as that could ruin the image or the video. And now, like, dude, I mean, that scene, there's just a little scene, all the colors pop in that little neon. I mean, that's dope. It's fresh.
Even the rim color was orange on the left side. It had like the little orange trim over the black rim, and same on the other side. Like, it's things that you want like that, because that's stuff that wouldn't have worked in the past in a lot of other, generators.
Should we also, throw in? Should we talk SRef update? I mean. Like, definitely interested, definitely rejuvenated. I think, like, my observation in, like, running. Oh, fuck, man. I've run so much shit over the last week. This has probably been the most I've run in a long, long time.
But get those fast hours, dude. You get so many.
Yeah. What I'm noticing, though, is these SREFs do look more pronounced. I don't know if that's the right word, but they like whenever I'm running SREF random, they look the variance in between each ones are much different. The styles almost seem stronger in some way. I don't really know how to explain this.
Yeah,
but there's something different there, and
I got some good ones. Finally, there was like a run where I had like 8 in a row, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Never really like 8 in a row, but what's the
I know, right?
Timeout. So you go dribble.com. I know is one of your go-tos.
Yeah.
What's the other? Some of the other testing tokens you like to utilize? Other than I know you use some emojis too, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, there are a couple that I go to over and over again, and then there are a couple that I mix up. So let's go through. Let me see if I can find like a fresh batch where I've like run. These are after I've upscaled them. Jesus Christ. Okay. So dribble.com I love. I always run dribble.com, and I always love dribble.com character.
Okay.
Love to see kind of like the character aspect of it. And then dribble, depending on like the SREF, will pull in either a character or it'll pull in like just sort of like a cool little art scene or something. I don't know, whatever it is. So I always do those. Let me find like an actual like dope.
Do you do Behance?
That I did.
For
I've done Behance before.
Behance always gives me a Porsche when I do SREF random.
Really?
I don't know what it is. It's always Porsches.
You know, so like this is after dribble.com character. I always like an album cover. I always do album cover.
Album cover, all right.
Sometimes I'll do movie posters, another good one. After that, I really like mix it up. And I think like what I've been doing a lot of lately is I'll just put in songs. I'll go through my Spotify and put in song titles. And like on that SREF I was showing with the videos, like I did like a whole AC/DC run where I was doing like Highway to Hell, Shoot to Thrill, Thunderstruck, you know, stuff like that. And like song titles can give you some good stuff, you know? So like I was going through and I did like Dreams I'll Never See, Flirting with Disaster. Those are songs from like 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And then I was doing like some stoicism stuff. I did like Memento Mori, Amor Fati, stoicism. I like doing Nike ad creative from time to time too, because Nike usually comes out pretty good, and it's always interesting to see how an SREF adapts to that.
Yeah.
Did Greek mythology here, but
and you run with your profile on.
I do. I run with the profile on, and then I will also one thing I really was liking is I went back to remember core, wave, and punk.
Totally.
And I just started running those one worders like weirdcore, dreamcore, dystopian core, like whatever the fuck it is. And I just went through my whole list of like core and wave and punk, and I could throw those in. And so then what I'll do is I'll do basically like, here's how I build it out. Just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do album cover. I'm going to do Morfati, Memento Mori, weirdcore, dreamcore, rainbow core. Well, I mean, whatever it is, right? So then I'll usually run, like after I find the SREFs from the test, right, that I'll run with the skull in like R40 or whatever it is, I'll like hide all the ones I don't like. Then I'll go back. The ones that I do like, I'll kind of like cull that list again. I'm like, oh, which are the ones that really stick out? And then I'll run this. I'll run like something where I'm running like probably 10 or 12 different prompts. So I would go longer than this typically. I usually run a R45. And then now what I'm doing now with EXP is I'll run this at 0, and then I'll also run with 15.
Damn.
And that's fun. So then you get like sort of like that aspect of like as is, and then you also get this aspect of experiential, but it like I noticed if you go too high on the experiential, it starts to deviate right from the SREF code. Like it starts to kind of like not completely
I
ignore
hadn't
the colors,
used
but
the
it'll,
XP on SRef
but it'll
code
kind
yet.
of,
Good call.
yeah, but it'll kind of like toss those aside. So like 15 or 10, I would recommend if you do it that way. And then I'll just usually run the fuck out of those. You know what I mean? And then out of that list, then I'll just go through and I'll say, okay, I'll look at them first and I'll say, is this even worth sharing? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, probably I don't really care about that. So I'm just going to skip that one. Okay. You know, then something like this, I'm like, oh, okay, there's some like sick shit here. So I'll go through, upscale the ones I like, then I'll just consolidate those into a group. And then that's usually when I'll, you know, pump out one of those posts where I've got like the fucking
22
fucking styles, right?
I'm always just like, how do you like 22 of them? Someone's so picky.
Yeah, I always try to go with like the
but
fives.
You get good ones.
You know,
like I feel like I never get stuff that looks like that, and it's probably because my testing, like my testing doesn't look that, or testing language.
I also go through a lot of these, dude. I go through so many of these. I mean, because you'll look at some and you're like, oh, I like that one. But then like when you get down to it and you're trying to decide which ones you're going to run with like those permutations and shit, you're like, it's not really that cool. So that's when you kind of get to the good stuff. And so it's a whole fucking process. I wish I could say it's really quick, but it takes me a long time to do. Because first I got to identify a bunch of good ones. And then I got to expect that like half those I probably won't end up running and I won't like. And then you got to run all the permutations and go through and like pick out of that bunch. Like, did I run the right prompts? Do I like the results I got or not? You know, and then compile them. So I mean, it's kind of
just putting that PDF together. It's a lot of work.
It is fun though. Like I definitely do kind of enjoy it. It's kind of cool. But this new SRef system, in case you guys don't know, this is where I think it's a little bit confusing and it's going to be hard for some people, is because the new SRef system, right, broke the legacy system, meaning if you were to use this code and not attach -- SV space 4, you're going to get something totally different. Because now with this new system, the codes are related to a different style. Mm-hmm. And there was, it was such a weird, cutoff. So like the only cutoff I can think of in my mind is the date. It's like, well, it happened on 6/16, but like, what the fuck does that mean? How am I going to know, is this a legacy code or not? Right. So I think that's like maybe a confusing thing that, could use a little bit better sorting. And
I totally missed that.
Something, but that's the thing. Right. And that's where it was like, I was already pulling those 22. And then I'm like, I see the new SRef and I'm like, fuck. Because now I got to explain, these are codes, but make sure you plug in the SV4. Otherwise, you're going to get something fucking totally different. So I don't know. They do need to figure something out with that specifically, so it's not crazy confusing. But
do you never run? Can we run? Can we do one real quick? Let's do one. Let's find a good code. I'm curious if you.
I just ran an R40.
Just find one that we like. I just want to do permutations SV1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if it works.
Oh,
I'm just curious.
Okay.
Because people forget that you can use SV1, 2, 3, 4. I do it. I remember every once in a while, and sometimes those SV3 and SV1s are bangers. Like,
you see, like none of these are like really dope, to me so far.
This is
like,
how
this
I
one's
feel
kind of cool. This one's kind of cool. Kind of. No. Like interesting, not sure, right? Like these are the ones I'd probably like hold on to, but I probably wouldn't run. Like kind of interesting, but not like one of those things where you're like, oh, I gotta run this and see. So
that one's interesting.
Did you like that one?
I like the skull teeth.
Let's run a fresh 40. We got hours to burn here. Let's go.
Let's run a fresh 40.
Let's do. I don't know if it's just me on this either. This feels maybe I'm in my own head on this, but when I do an R10 and I run that 4 times versus an R40, I feel like I get better things during the R10 than the 40.
I kind of feel the same way. I don't think that's
that fucked up.
No, I think it's real. I think it's also because you can see them in a more digestible. Like when it's 40, I just want to like get to the bottom.
Bro, this give me like something like this, something crazy. This looks, I could fuck with that.
So hit that one with the crazy neon colors.
Okay.
Use that prompt.
Okay.
And then I've definitely hit the high motion instead of use prompt like a million times already. Like when I wasn't expecting to.
Right. I know. It took me a second.
It's like muscle memory.
Yep.
If you do permutations on --SV and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, let's just see how different it is.
Do you? They haven't said this, but I mean, is there an SV6 or whatever the last number is now that we've got this new system? I mean,
is there? I'm confused.
Let's run 5. All right, so let's run this. We'll run this first.
All right, so work with. Why is it saying SV6?
Can only be used with SV4.
Got it.
SV6 for version 7.
Wait, so try. Wait, what? I'm confused. I'm so confused with this now.
Yeah, I am too. So 1, 2,
4, and 6.
3. So it was saying 4, but I think. Okay. First let's do this. Can we do this? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so what it's saying is I think 1, 2, 3 are those. They either don't work or they have to be used with a V6 model, I think.
Okay.
So I don't know. Do you still want to try that?
Yeah,
try
it. 4
okay,
and 6.
so let's
just see.
Okay, so let's try 4 and 6. Should we try 5? Like, what is there? Fucking 5? What did it run? It ran 6 and it ran 4. There is no 5.
Okay.
Or at least 5 doesn't. Yeah, at least 5 doesn't work if there is one.
What's the difference between 6 and? Let's see.
Okay.
Whoa. All right. So 4 and 6, way different.
So this is it, right? This SV6 is for the new codes.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
SV6 is for the new codes. I didn't either till just now. So
here's a question. Can we do old SREF codes with SV6? Do you have one
well, you can, but it's not going to be the same style.
Huh.
You would have to use 4.
I see.
Which is why that was why I was like, that 22 is like, man, I've got some good codes here, but now I have to like go the extra mile to explain like these aren't going to work unless you do the --SV4, right? Because because SV6 now is the default, right? So if you just plug that in and you don't put SV, it's going to default to SV6.
Huh. All right. I didn't know that.
But like let's take let's take this code now and let's run, like, just for the sake of it, let's just, since we were talking about it, let's run like an experiment here of maybe like a typical thing I would do. Let's do movie poster. Maybe let's do movie poster. Let's do Cosmic Dreams, feels like a good one. Let's do.
Don't you normally do like a 3D shape or something like that? I feel like
okay.
I feel like
I used to do that.
Yeah,
3D shape. Maybe 3D shape melting. Hedonism is another kind of cool one. Let's do like some of these core ones. Weirdcore. Let's do like Dreamcore.
Myth punk.
I
remember that one from back.
Carpet punk.
Carpet punk.
I remember that one.
That's the name of the episode. Carpet punk.
Yeah, there you go. Memento Mori. And let's do
Wabi Sabi.
And let's do a Nike ad creative. And then what we'll do is we'll run that AR45. And then let's do the EXP. Let's do a 0. Let's do a 15. And
bang on.
Boom.
Let's do.
And so the shortcut of that too, like, I don't know how other people are doing this, but if you are like mining, then I'll copy this, right? I'll copy this part. And so then once I've gone through and identified the ones that I want to run, right, I just paste that back in, and then all I got to do is click the code and then run it again. So,
all right.
Let me make sure.
There's a science to this.
There is. I'm just going to run turbo.
It's weird because you don't really go for, like I try to find my one test term that I like to use a lot is samurai because I know it's going to give me a lot of detail.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
It's just samurai is always like it always gives me detail, so I can see if it's going to be minimal or if it's going to be or it's going to be like maximalist or whatever. But all right, we got some interesting stuff here.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, and you'll see like these are different too. Like the reason I like Dribble too is because it tends to be more of like the illustrative 3D ish kind of style, and these other ones are a little bit more, sometimes a little bit more photorealism based, depending on the SRef. But
it's always interesting. You got to kind of work with the SRef what it's giving you because this one wants to be close up and
you see
to be human.
There you go. See, so like that's the stuff I'm like the fact that I got two. Like what I take away from this, I've got two skulls here, three. Oh, right here. Okay, so I've got two skulls here. I didn't prompt for a skull there, right? So that's interesting. Also, to your point, a lot of close up stuff. Half these are close up, right? So that's telling me something. To your point, now we're seeing all these faces, and they all kind of have like this tilt to them. So like that's baked in to this SRef, right? And then especially here, I mean, this movie poster thing, I can't tell you how basic this is compared to most SRefs. Usually like the movie poster thing, you get some really interesting things. Same with the album cover. This is so like, this is actually probably not a great SRef. I mean, the colors are awesome, but what I'm getting back here is not all that interesting.
Now, here's the thing. Try it. See if you go back to the or just try like movie poster, but run it with like 2:1. Just see what happens at like 2:1 aspect ratio instead of 4:5. Sometimes I find the SRefs change. I always run them in 4:5 to test them because I just want like to be in a nice comfortable grid across. Yep. But sometimes like changing the aspect ratio totally changes the aesthetic. I don't think it's going to change it with this one that much, but
no, I like where your head's at. Let's run that. But I think what we should do too, we should find a better one because I do want to show like the variability that I typically get back with these. Like this is interesting. I would run this for sure. Interesting.
That one's going to be a good one, yeah.
You know?
You just tell like which ones are going to be good.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what the hard part is because like you get distracted by these other ones. And at the end of the day, it's like, what are the ones that really fucking pop out? Don't even waste your time with the other ones. So like I think we should run this one. I feel like this would be a really good one to run. So I I had that copied, paste. Now we're just going to add this. Boom. Let's run that while we're waiting. Now let's go check out what you said with the movie poster aspect ratio and what changed with that.
Nothing changed.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a shame, right? Because these colors are sick. I mean, this is acid trip type stuff. Really cool.
I might use this one on like a low SW. Like
that, that's a great point. That's okay. So that's also a great point, guys. Great fucking point, Rory, because when I'm doing this, I'm really not changing the weight. Default's 100, but this maybe is a great example of you like the colors. These colors are so probably strong. It'd be interesting to lower that maybe down to like a 50 or 60, see what happens then too. Like do you break out of that? And I think maybe what I would try is let's go to one of the ones where we wouldn't expect to see just faces. Like, so this movie poster again, let's go back to this. Let's take this. And then now let's run SW50. And maybe let's do like a 40 and let's do like a 70. And see what comes back. And then we'll dive into that other one here.
I just got a 10% notice on my battery power, so I might have to dip for 2 seconds.
This guy
totally forgot that I did not have my computer plugged.
That's all right. That's right. So, I mean, okay. So, long story short, this is showing like even with lower weight, we're getting colors, but we're still getting them close.
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer. Kind of a bummer.
Kind of a bummer. It's a really good one. Maybe
this was the other one. This was the other one we ran. I think this is like a
cool.
typical example, right? Like you're gonna get some interesting things here. This is where like adding the XP is nice. You can also rerun these. So, you know, sometimes if I really like kind of where it's going, but I don't love any of these images, I'll re-roll those. The characters are always interesting. There's usually a good one in there. Album cover. I would say these are kind of weak for an album cover. Usually I get some better stuff than that. Movie poster. Like there's some good stuff in here. It's not bad.
It wants to be landscape, right? Like it wants to show
it
landscape.
Does a little bit.
Yeah.
Hedonism, 3D shape melting. Now they're, you know, getting some kind of cool stuff there. Weirdcore. Weirdcore is an interesting wild card. Dreamcore. Myth punk. Carpet punk.
Do you get so many more illustrated styles than I do? Like I feel like I always get like these random. I get some really weird photorealistic stuff.
Even with this code, though, you think? Maybe not with this code.
No. Just like when I run SRef random in general.
Oh, okay. I see. But yeah, man. So I mean,
these through Describe and see what you get. Like I always try to like.
It's a good call.
Those neon ones, I just
pick me out one.
Like like that with the girl with the purple face, like close up. Like what's it gonna say? Like how is it gonna describe that? Because sometimes it's an easy way to sort of take some things you like about your SRF codes and sort of
smart, man.
It.
Smart. Yeah.
So like hold on, just run all real quick. I'm just curious if anything even comes out.
Yeah.
Like close, because sometimes you run.
Dude, see, there's that's why I love this fucking tool. See, like I wouldn't even been thinking about Describe at this point. Super dope idea though.
Because sometimes, like when I get that, I'm like, I don't even know what that art style is or how it's like. Because I might like some of it, not all of it, or the color. Like what did it say for the colors? You know, 'cause I like that color scheme. I can go look up the hex codes, but I don't know.
This one, like one of them was really, really. I think it was maybe this one, but it was just like electric, neon, purple. Yeah.
So they don't really get it. See, like they don't get that close with Describe, but
not without the SRef. Yeah.
Certain things to pick up. Whenever I see one that's like so random that I don't know what it is, I'm just like, let's see what Midjourney thinks of it. What does it think it is? Because I don't know how to describe it.
I don't think they call out the fact that she's got a purple face.
No, that's
or
weird.
Whatever the color of her skin is, right?
They should, but the color is not as good as it is in the SREF code. You know, like the SREF code.
Damn, I wish. I mean, like this code's not bad. This code's not bad. I just wish we would. I wish we would have had a banger for the episode's sake. But I think
live. This is what happens.
This is it. But I think like this is really good. I'm interested to see too. We didn't really talk about this. I know your battery's on low, so we'll kind of wrap this baby up. But like how this affects mood boards too. I want to revisit that because that was also supposed to be a part of this, right?
Oh.
Mood boards supposed to have improved?
I think they have, personally, without even knowing that. Remember I think we were saying this again. I feel like I'm a broken record here talking about last episode or the other episode. I was like, they seem to work better as of recent, like more consistent, less glitchiness, less softness.
I'm trying to think of like maybe one I didn't love to try, but I don't know. Yeah, these are worth going back to. I'd love to test these out. I haven't added any. These are all old.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the character one with all those little?
Which one?
That
these
one,
guys?
the avatars too.
Yeah, I found like these cool little guys. I think this was more of a test. I haven't really used this, but just to see if I could like generate more of this style of character. I just thought these were kind of cool. They kind of felt a little like NFT-ish, you know?
Yeah. The other thing, have you noticed with style reference? The one thing I did, I was running it this week and noticed that it wasn't as they said. I think I read to be quite candid, everyone, I totally missed the SRef update because I got so excited about video. Didn't even know the SRef thing happened until I saw Drew post about it, and I was like, okay. But there's no subject leaks. That was one of the things they called out, which we were always saying, right? It's like, yeah, the subject leaks in with the SRef. It leaks into the image.
Yes.
But they got
I'd never
rid of
heard them ever talk about that.
No. But then they just updated it and said that we're going to fix it. Then this one's out there, and I've noticed it because like I was using, like I was doing testing it. I was doing like a Nike, took a bright white, just plain all white Nike sneaker, and then I used a jungle photo as a SRef to see what would happen. And it didn't pull any of the jungle element in, which I found interesting because that's not normally how it would work. It would bring something in of the jungle.
Yeah, you'd have to really dial the weight and play. Yeah.
But it just took the colors. So it just really took like it had like some, like the jungle had like some like haze or fog in it. And then it had like really sharp green and really dark black. So it brought all of those elements in, but not the, I'll see if I can find it before we bounce out of here. But it was just an interesting one that I noticed that would leak some jungle, some jungle stuff in.
Yeah.
I was surprised that it didn't.
Yeah, I haven't yet tried that part from a third-party style reference yet, because all I've been doing is with the codes. You know what? People are still confused by that. People to this day are still confused that style reference. There's two versions, right?
Yeah.
There's Midjourney style codes that you can unlock or use, and then there's just any other image on the internet that has colors that you can bring in and use, to guide the style or the color or the aesthetic of your image. But I haven't tried. I think that's probably something that we could try for next episode is how that's now working, that subject leakage, diving into that. And I'm curious to see how that's working.
I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick here.
Yeah.
So this was interesting to me because typically I would really expect this to come through. This was the reference image, right? I'd expect some of that to come through, but it just kind of came through with the green, the black, and the smoke, right?
Ooh.
So that was interesting because I was running a bunch of them. Then I ran image.
Dude, I like those. I love those colors.
Yeah, it was really cool. I was just like, I wanted to play with. So this, again, just didn't bring any of the structure over, just took sort of like taking like the vibe, right? It's not, these aren't like my favorite shots of all time. I was just trying to test this with this one jungle shot because I was like, because now you can use
that's a really good test though, because you've got a very simple isolated subject here, but your style reference has all these leaves, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not just like this green color in the image. I mean, it's this whole object texture thing, right? And it's basically just taking that color, which is super interesting. So I think this kind of is proving that point of the subject. I mean, I really want to play around with that.
Because then if you use, I think this was SREF maybe, if I'm not mistaken. This was, I used White Naked Seeker in a studio. I can't remember which. I was trying to do it through 4 different ways to see does image prompt do it? This one. So this one I used SREF with the sneaker, and then this as an image prompt. Then the background is an image prompt. Then it worked. Brought it in, no problem. But I was interested with the style reference because it was giving me a lot of variance. Like it wasn't consistent. I was trying to sort of figure out what the consistent sort of look was. But there wasn't much. So even here it's style weight 900. I tried to dial it up to see if it would bring in the leaves. It didn't bring in the leaves. It brought in some green in the grass. But
one other question I want to ask next office hours is click on any one of those images again. Oh shit! You just
hold on.
It's
there
all
we go. Hold on, we're going back.
Okay, 1 second. I don't want to crash your computer, but I am curious, and I would like some goddamn transparency around this. Okay, click into one A. Okay, so help us improve V7. I like this image. I don't like this image. I'm neutral in this image. Can this factor into personalization? Does
That'd
it?
be nice.
Can it? Please? You know what I mean? Like, this feels like a great opportunity. I mean, I'm already generating a bunch of images. I don't have to like it, but you're asking for the feedback. So how, I understand that it's applying to the model as a whole, but can't that also be applied to my own personalization? Because we've talked about it. People have talked about it, aired some grievances. They maybe don't like their personalization now with V7 or whatever it is. I'm not alone. Fuck all y'all. But you know what I mean? Like, there's something there changed. I just think like that's a great opportunity to impact personalization too, because you've got all those images right there. You're already clicking into them. I mean, it'd be a great way to just like, I don't have to go to a whole nother tab just to rank images. And I know those are random images, but can I apply that to my own images that I've created?
That'd be nice. Be nice because, whatever. I haven't ranked images nearly as much as I did with these.
I haven't either.
That's it. I mean, dude, I have 3% left. Sorry,
yes.
everyone. It's like a natural cutoff for us.
Bro, this is a natural cutoff because we could go for a while. This is Midjourney Fast Hour. We already push it. We always go a little bit over the hour. We're going, now we're an hour and a half. So anyway, I think this is a good place to wrap. We still, I think, have some things that we could roll into next week too, to cover too, if we wanted to. I think, I'm just excited. This is the most excited I've been about Midjourney in probably a year.
Yeah.
Ish.
Easy.
I mean, the video stuff. And you know what I loved, Rory? It wasn't this long, dragged out thing. Like, yes, they have been talking about video for a while, but it wasn't like one of those things like V7 where it was like, okay, we're getting close. One week away, 2 weeks away, whatever it is. And then you got a setback. And, like this just kind of hit. It was just like, oh, it's fucking on,
don't know how.
And,
I don't know how it went from like V7 falling behind like 8 months to then we did video.
Yeah, right.
Like this.
Right.
Like I find it crazy that I know it's a priority for them, but I still feel like it's a side project. And like their side project just like awesome. It's like I use Runway for images now and I use Midjourney. I'm going to use Midjourney for video. Like what world are we in? This is so odd. But, this is a good job. Good job on the team for getting this out. They said end of June. They delivered
you guys,
June.
Yeah, you guys crushed it. You guys, I mean, if you listen to this, maybe you do, but you probably don't listen to the whole thing if you do. I don't know. But, hey, I think really outstanding job. I think the sentiment has been echoed everywhere I've seen. Not many people, I really haven't seen any slander about it. I think people have been very realistic about what to expect from a V1 version of this, and it looks damn good. I mean, it's really promising, and it's exciting times over here, man. Very exciting times.
We got a lot going on this one. We're going to come back probably next week, talk about it. Maybe we'll bring some guests on. Maybe we'll do something else. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know until the day we do it. So appreciate you all for hanging with us. If you haven't already, and if you wait around to this part of the podcast every single time, like and subscribe, God damn it. But hopefully YouTube doesn't ding me for that. But we'll be back next week doing more stuff. Drew.
Crush it.
Yes, sir.
Rory's beard will have grown a couple inches by then.
I had to, dude. I was looking
to be back.
You're
You looking clean shaven, my friend.
Look at the last week. I was like a homeless person. So we're back now. We're back.